High school can be hard. Tough teachers, parental expectations, bullies, crushes, ravenous hordes of flesh-eating zombies. It's rough out there. All of Us Are Dead is the latest import from Korea to take the streaming service Netflix by storm. This time, instead of characters being methodically eliminated through an elaborate series of deadly schoolyard games, the schoolyard itself has been turned into a killing field of rabid zombies and ever-diminishing groups of kids trying to survive both the zombies and being a teenager. How did this combination of bloody horror and heartbreaking personal drama get made? Well, we've been given a few peeks behind the curtain. In a commentary on the diminishing value of celebrity, Andy Warhol once quipped that in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. Little did he know that he had predicted the reality show star and social media icon. The ever-changing magic wand of fame and success now lies in having the right fans. Preferably someone who has fans of their own who will all get into the things that they like just to be closer to the person they follow. The adaptation of the webcomic All of Us Are Dead got exactly that when a member of BTS, the ambassadors of K-pop, voiced his approval of the show. When asked by a fan if he was going to watch the show, group leader RM stated that the webtoon was legendary. Just like that, All of Us Are Dead began trending all over social media, eventually dethroning Euphoria as the most talked about show. Now, if you're new to Korean cinema and shows, then it's easy to watch something like All of Us Are Dead and not know who most of the actors are. Although, if you're just getting into Netflix's runaway hit Korean imports, you might recognize Lee Yoo-mi, who plays Na-yeon in All of Us Are Dead. That's the stuck-up rich girl that infects the likable poor guy Gung-soo for the crime of people not liking her picking on him. That's the stuck-up rich girl that infects the likable poor guy Gung-soo for the crime of people not liking her picking on him. And being poor. She's really just the worst. In Squid Game, she played the decidedly more chill Player 240 Ji-young. Overall, however, the mass of children dealing with the zombie apocalypse unsupervised was made up of relatively unknown or new actors. Director Lee Jae-kyu was conscious of the theme of the story, a school overrun by zombies, and felt like seeing new faces would contribute to the feeling of young school children thrust into a situation like a zombie invasion. So, like I said, the bulk of the children were cast from new or unknown faces, which, for American viewers just discovering the world of high-concept Korean shows, is everything so far. Seriously though, Na-yeon is the worst. I needed to take a walk after that episode. Now, acting is a lot harder than it looks, and sometimes it looks pretty hard. You have to run around and be scared of that guy that you just had lunch with. You have to not hate Lee Yoo-mi after she does such a good job of being so very mean. You have to not be an awkward young person sharing a tender kiss with your on-screen romantic interest with a couple dozen people in a room watching you do it with a massive camera aimed at you while you pretend to be an awkward young person sharing a tender kiss with your love interest without all those people there or the camera. It's not that easy. At that age, a girl touched my hair and I spent the rest of the day staring at birds and writing poems. Lomon plays Lee Soo-hyuk, the scrappy fighter with the not-so-subtle crush on the more reserved class president Choi Nam-ra, played by Cho Yoo-hyun. After endlessly risking his life for her and defending her half-zombie or Hamby status against the others and going so far as to tie himself to her so that if she turns, he'll be the only one she kills, she finally figures out that he's into her because he tells her. Who knew that worked? The kiss that follows took 17 takes to get. Yi-hyun admitted that her eyes were closed going in and she kept missing the mark, but the production was quick to point out that Lomon, who was filming his first kissing scene ever, kept smiling. In a promotional interview, he said that he suddenly realized why actors do romantic movies. You sly dog, you. The reality is that the world is saturated with zombie content, and it's harder and harder to make your zombie content stand out. There are fast and slow zombies, funny zombies, and tragic zombies. There's even a kind of zombie Romeo and Juliet and a zombie Christmas musical. Lee Jae-kyu focused on detail to set his show apart. For the beginning of the series, when the kids are being mean to each other just because they're kids, he used a lot of bright colors. Even the green uniforms were meant to contrast the dark red blood and dirt that would eventually come to dominate as the zombie numbers grew and the human numbers dwindled. The massive zombie invasion at the beginning was filmed as a one-take scene and had to be choreographed carefully ahead of time in order to get a realistic reaction of the teenagers to zombies. Every good zombie story needs its big zombies run amok set piece. After encountering one or two people who are dead but are not acting like it, the real menace of the zombie apocalypse becomes clear when the horde of zombies rush in and ring the dinner bell. It's generally followed by a high body count on both the zombie side and the human side. That's also where you find out that some people aren't going to be main characters after all. Lee JQ wanted to preserve the chaos and panic that goes into that moment and felt the best way to do that was to film the whole thing in just one take. That meant a lot more choreography and rehearsal to get everyone's movements down, but still retain that feeling of panic. Rather than a single camera tracking shot, however, the action was covered by several cameras all going at once to capture the action across the cafeteria turned battlefield, making it the grossest food fight ever. Another one of the signature elements of a good zombie film is how they handle the transition from the living to the undead. The convention is generally universal. If the zombie that attacked someone isn't part of the clean plate club and leaves the victim simply injured or dead but not completely devoured, then that person will eventually get up and start making snacking a full-time pursuit. Every zombie movie finds its own way to depict the slow deterioration from human being to hungry hippo. For All of Us Are Dead, they turned over the process of transformation to a dance choreographer, more from the Merce Cunningham approach than the wildebeest style. This seems like a crowd that's hip to modern dance pioneers and celebrity dance choreographers, right? Anyway, the transformations were choreographed and then rehearsed the way one would a dance, to give the gradual loss of humanity a distinct, bone-crunching look. Directors are notorious for putting their actors through weird off-screen shenanigans to help them embody some aspect of the characters they're portraying. If the story is a class struggle, then the actors playing the poorer members might get less lavish accommodations, or different groups will be sequestered from each other. Sometimes the actors will go all in on trying to embody their character even when the camera isn't rolling. Lee JQ didn't go that far, but he did have his actors switch parts and do scenes with their counterpart so that they would have a better idea of what the other character was going through and where they were coming from, so that it could help inform how their character would react and feel about the other one. No one really has a good time during a zombie apocalypse. Even Negan eventually had a bad time, and for the most part, it seemed like he was made for that world. But the ever-steady Onjo really kept taking it straight in the feels. She spent most of the series with an almost unshakable confidence that her father would eventually come along and rescue her, because that's what he did, rescue people. This was right in his wheelhouse. And sure enough, her father was doing whatever he could to find his way to his daughter to do just that, putting him on an adventure arc all his own. Towards the end of the series, he finally makes it to her only to sacrifice himself to buy her slightly more time. Frustrated by the scope of the sacrifice compared to the advantage it gained, she decides that the group have a moratorium on sacrifices. They don't appear to be working anyway. The high-stress situation forces the subtext of the relationship with the boy next door to text, but the two who have waited this long to discuss their feelings come up with the downright adorable decision to talk about it later because they will survive and have plenty of time to be together. Aww. Of course, horror movie rules mean that Chung Sen is a goner. And of course, that means that he'll be sacrificing himself despite the moratorium. Hey look, we don't make the rules. Chung Sen actor Yoon Chan-young came up with his own way to remember his devotion to his childhood crush. He, attached Onjo's name tag to his phone throughout the entire film. Aww. She might have had a reason to think that sacrifices weren't necessary when a fan theory that she's immune got a degree of validation from the creator, who pointed out that there were zombies, half-bees, and the immune. Now, it may have come up once or twice already that the character of Lee Na-yeon was just the worst, with class issues that would make a young Johnny Lawrence blush. Regardless, she was a survivor, and until her classmates found out that she was willing to sacrifice a student that she had been bullying just to be right, she was still someone that they had to accept as part of the group and help her survive. Actors who have played the bad guys have had a history of doing some strange things to get themselves in the mindset of a bad guy, which has often been at the expense of their co-stars, like all the disturbing things Jared Leto did to castmates for Suicide Squad. Lee Yu-mi, who plays Lee Na-yeon, didn't send her classmates any dead animals or anything, but she did test the patience of her co-stars between takes with annoying, aggressive antics. It was enough for her castmates to nickname her the cute, angry bird. Everyone has a side hustle or at least a hobby. For actors, it's not uncommon that they also have a bit of an interest in music. Sometimes that'll work its way into the character, but usually not all that significantly. Putting together a show or movie is a lot of moving parts within parts, and it's hard to really incorporate a whole other thing into it. Lim Jae-hyuk, who plays the affable young Dae-soo, needs his side hustles. Despite a breakout role that's increased his social media followers from 1,000 to 450,000, he's still not making full-time actor money and splits his time between construction work, doing deliveries, and writing his own music. Committed to becoming an actor, he lost 30 kilograms when he signed on to his agency, only to be told to put them back on for his role in All of Us Are Dead. His overture to his love interest didn't go as well as it did for others, but director Lee Jae-kyu did like his music and asked him to write a song that his character would perform in the movie. He went with what he thought the characters would want: a desire to go home. What this show really proved was that when things go nuts and your school has to defend itself against a horde of monsters, go find the archery club. They have been training for this moment their entire lives, apparently. When the archery group met the main group, they were almost commandos by comparison.